Hello students, how are you all? Hope that you are having an amazing day. I'm Muhammad Naeem Amin Bhatti, and today the topic of our discussion is The Way of the World by William Congreve. So, having a discussion on the index of today's lecture, we will talk about the biography of William Congreve. We will talk about its historical context, that context in which the Comedy of Manners were written at that time. We will have a look upon the plot overview in our next lecture, hopefully, and about the character analysis. After that, we will discuss the themes of this drama, the critical commentary, and the literary features. We will have a look on the comedy of manners and its features, and after that we will conclude our lecture in the second lecture. This is the very first lecture about this topic. So let's start with the William Congreve was an English poet and playwright of the Restoration period in the 17th century and 18th centuries. He was writing his plays in the late 17th centuries and early 18th centuries. After William Shakespeare, he has a great contribution to the Restoration theatre. The word William has been added with his name by inspiring with the greatest writer of all the time, Mr. William Shakespeare. If we talk about his birth, he was born in West Yorkshire near the Leeds in England. Leeds is still a city of the England, and he was born in Bardsey, which is the countryside area in the Yorkshire, and he was born on 24th of January 1670. He was most celebrated writer of all the Restoration comedy writers. If we talk about the plays, after William Shakespeare, he has most impressive plays in his capacity. He was the playwright, poet, a critic, and a satirist also. He was inspired from Jonathan Swift, and after that he was inspired from the many other stylists. Congreve was educated at the Trinity College in Dublin. There he met with the Jonathan Swift, who taught him how to throw the satire in a best possible way and the multi-dimensional way. After that, artistically, if we talk about William Congreve, he became the disciple of John Dryden, though he has not had any company with the John Dryden, but after reading his work, he came to know that John Dryden was one of the best out of best poets. So, playwright and literary critic. From Dryden, he used to taught actually the poetry, the playwriting, and of course the criticism. And John Dryden is the pretty much one of the best out of best figures in the history of English literature, if we talk about him. So he was much inspired by the John Dryden. The works which were published under the pseudonym or the pen name of Cleophil, the very first work was an essay Incognita, which was published in 1692. If we talk about his comedies, the Old Bachelor was published in 1693. A Love for Love was published in 1694, and The Way of the World, the best out of best drama of his works, was published in 1700. If we talk about his poetry, his first poetic tragedy, that was The Morning Bride, which was published in 1697. After that, The Morning Muse of Alexis was published, and The Tears of the Amaryllis for Amenities was published. So here are some of the major works which were very famous at that time and nowadays. That The Old Bachelor 1693, The Double Dealer, which was published in 1693, Love for Love was published in 1695, The Morning Bride was published in 1697, and The Way of the World, the most important work of his dramas, was published on 1700. So Congreve never married. The reason behind was no reason, because Congreve have pretty much of the disease which was the loss of his eyesight, and he had the romance with Henrietta Godwin, the second Duchess of the Marlborough, and it was the ultimate reality of his life, that he has a girlfriend but he never married to her. After that, if we talk about the afflicted with the poor eyesight for the most of his time, he was such like the John Milton, who was became blind at the last stage or the old age of his life. Same was the case with him. William Congreve was almost approximately blind at the end of his life. He suffered a carriage accident in 1728. That was actually the late 1728, in the last months of 1728, and he never recovered, and he was died in the early month of 1729 on 19th January 1729, and he is buried in the Poets Corner of Westminster's Abbey. If we talk about his quotations, he has a very plain and the light quotations for his readers, that music has charms to smooth savage breast, to soften rocks, or to bend the knotted oak. Never go to the bed angry, stay up and fight. Uncertainty and expectations are the joys of life. Security is inspired thing. If this be not love, it is the madness, and then it is the pardonable. His quotations are as same as the William Shakespeare. As he talk about the music, he talk about the reality of life, he talk about the different types of the love, madness, and pardonable things. So same is the case with the William Congreve, that he talk about certain things which Mr. William Shakespeare has made his subject matter. Same was the case with the William Congreve, because he was very much inspired from William Shakespeare. So that's it from today's lecture. In our next lecture, we will discuss The Way of the World as a greatest novel, as a greatest drama. Pardon. The Way of the World is basically best out of best drama of Mr. William Congreve, which was premiered in 1700. It is a comedy, it is a love comedy, and it talk about money. So we will have a discussion in our next lecture. Until the next video, it's goodbye from me.